Hello guys and welcome to Barking Mad Tech, an extremely low effort and extremely low budget tech channel dedicated to bringing you only the best in bad tech content. Today we're doing a bit of this and a bite of that, and joining me is Snackit. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the guy who never really does anything with computers anymore. To really exemplify that, I have literally not heard anything about the new graphics cards except that they exist, or will exist rather. So this is going to be really interesting. Honestly, I'm not expecting Nvidia to be like, because it's their new graphics cards, right? Because I'm not expecting them to really improve much, considering they're basically ahead of the curve anyways at the moment. So, I mean, it's probably going to be a GeForce like 900 situation where it's not that massive gains. That's my
Yeah, as someone who's been very, very, very interested in keeping up with specifically Ampere, that is to say the 3000 series graphics cards, I can tell you definitively that you are incorrect.
Okay, so this is actually going to be interesting.
It's a very significant sort of.
Okay.
It's a very significant jump. Like it's not like I was on the same team as you. I was very skeptical,
Yeah.
I was highly underestimating what they would bring forth. Not because there are people like on YouTube like More Slowisted, for example, who has excellent.
Sorry, excuse for the sound in the background. It's my cat cooking up some water.
Yeah. So people like More Slowisted on YouTube, they have very accurate leaks and sources inside, AIBs and other sort of Nvidia partners, or even at Nvidia themselves, and he was very all along saying it's going to be a very significant jump. I didn't believe him. I'm not going to be honest. So let's talk about this. So the 1st of September, Nvidia had, obviously a very big show. They had this long ass live stream. They showed off a bunch of new features, some cool software features, especially for streamers and stuff like that. So that's quite interesting. But then they got to the graphics cards, and we have
no car AI.
No car AI this time. But okay, so they announced 3 graphics cards to start off with: the RTX 3090, the RTX 3080, and the RTX 3070. Yes, but it's no longer a dual GPU card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
okay. Let's talk about the 3090. The 3090 has 24 gigabytes of VRAM.
So it's Titan levels, all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, what they've done is they've taken the Titan, and priced it around the 80 Ti sort of arena.
Okay.
So it's $1,400. It's $1,400. But like we compare that to the 2080 Ti, which was like supposedly $1,000, but was only available for $1,100 at the least. Like that was the lowest you could get the 2080 Ti for.
That's still like insane though.
It is.
The most high-end GPUs used to be like $500.
That's true. That much is true. But then that's their Halo product. That's their Titan. They're not doing a new RTX Titan. That's their Titan.
Okay. That's their Titan.
Yeah,
right.
Their flagship is the RTX 3080, which has 10 gigabytes of VRAM, which is substantially less impressive, obviously. But it's about Nvidia's advertising about double the performance of an RTX 2080 at the same MSRP. That is quite a substantial jump, because
wait, double?
That's what they're saying. Literally double. As the 2080. Not the 2080 Ti, but the 2080. But like being double the 2080 is about 40% faster than 2080 Ti for much cheaper.
And how much was that? That was the 3080.
Yeah, that was the 3080.
Okay,
so that's
supposed to be how much money?
$700 MSRP.
Okay, that's insane.
That's a huge jump. And okay, realistically, we're not going to have double the performance in most games, at least. Maybe some. But I think we're likely to see about a 50 to 60% jump. And that's still very significant at the same price. I mean, I'll take it. I'm kicking myself for buying an RTX 2080 last year. That was a fucking waste of money.
Well,
I mean, no, but it's like, let's talk about it, because 2080 was just a 1080 Ti. Like, the 1080 Ti is the GPU so nice they made it thrice, because they did the 1080 Ti itself, then they did the 2080, and then they did 2070 Super. So, all of which are just the 1080 Ti. Not literally. I know it's a different GPU die before someone sees
but
this,
it's like-
but it's the same performance. It's fucking identical practically. So it's just like no. So like this is the 3080 is major. Like I'm not saying like it's. I highly doubt it's not gonna be literally double the performance, but like 50 to 60. But like 50 to 60% performance increase for the same MSRP, that's nothing to scoff at. And that's the most aggressive Nvidia has been with pricing for a very long time. For a very, very long time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Mean, is there any like competition from AMD?
Not currently, but what I'm thinking is like I doubt they would have gone back to this sort of pricing unless they thought that AMD was going to be competing with RDNA 2.0 later this year.
Okay, so they're thinking that it's.
I'm thinking that's what they're thinking because they could have just kept the Turing level, you know. They could have just made another 1080 Ti and said it's like it's $700, and then they could have released a 3080 for like
3060. Okay.
yeah. It's like no.
Right.
So they could have just done that, but I'm thinking like this is the most aggressive Nvidia's been pricing wise for a very long time. And then let's not talk about the 3070. The 3070 is matches or is slightly faster than the 2080 Ti for an MSRP of $500. So that's about like we've actually seen the Swedish pricing for it. It's 5,625. That's the MSRP of the 3070, and it's slightly faster or the same as the 2080 Ti.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the 3070.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and the
insane.
and the 3090 is supposedly capable of 8K 60 FPS gaming. I mean, I'm sure they're talking like with DLSS on and stuff, but like that's still impressive regardless. If it's true, I mean, they showed people playing supposedly at 8K 60, like video wise, with the 3090. So like, I mean, if it's true, it's impressive regardless. But like, I mean, obviously that. I mean, honestly, I doubt they would outright lie. Like obviously they're presenting best case scenarios. They're presenting like the best of what they can offer. I doubt they would outright lie. I don't think they'd go that far, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it sounds crazy.
But like this, I'm very happy because I was expecting that going forward, GPU generations would be small incremental improvements, kind of like what Intel was doing with their CPUs, you know, before Ryzen. That's what I was expecting going forward, and I was expecting Turing pricing to stay around, but now like
Surely things happen in this space.
Yeah, I'm very impressed, and a lot of people have started like, oh, there's no way AMD can compete. It's all going to be done. I don't think that's true. I don't think Nvidia would price it like this if they didn't think AMD was going to be competing later. Which means I don't think AMD's going to beat them, but I think they're going to be competitive.
So what's the budget segment going to look like? Is there any announced?
Nothing yet, but there's actually stuff to talk about that in regard later on. I actually have a bit about that. But like we are expecting to see like a 3060 and a 3050 and stuff like that. We're expecting to see that. But those usually come a bit later on. Like that's historically what it's been. Like those have been much later. Like if we look at Turing, the previous generation, you know, the 16 series didn't come out until much later, and the 2060 didn't come out until much later as well. So those usually come later. The lower end stuff usually comes later.
Oh yeah. I mean that's usually the case, but you want to have some kind of lower segment during the time that.
I think for now they're expecting Turing, like the 20 series cards, to go down in price and fill up that segment for now.
Okay.
I think that's their plan.
So it was like they did with the 10 generation when that came out. Where they kept the 950 around and whatnot.
Yeah. So I was very impressed just looking at it, and I'm quite interested to see how it goes forward. It's going to be PCI Express 4.0, which so that they're now on par with AMD in that regard at least. Obviously Navi has had 4.0 since Navi came out. It's on Samsung's 8nm processor, which is probably just 7nm slightly customized by NVIDIA, but like obviously we've talked about this I think actually last time, but Samsung has had some trouble getting yields out of basically any of their processors.
Yeah, it's getting so small that it's
but we talked specifically we talked about the 5 nanometer process specifically in regards to 5G modems, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But it's actually been an issue across their entire stack, because like, it's just 5 nanometer. It's also 7 nanometer has been god awful yields in terms of 7 nanometer. Like we're looking at, as far as I think, I mean, I can't speak officially, but from what I've heard, TSMC, for example, Taiwan Semiconductor, their 7 nanometer process is now yielding about 90%. Like they have 90% yields now per wafer, which is excellent, supposedly.
Yeah.
But Samsung is way behind. So like what we're expecting is that availability of these cards, because they're on Samsung, is going to be limited to begin with, at least.
Okay.
So it's going to be a long-term problem as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When you're getting down to it, like we've talked about this before, but once you get down that small, the margin for error is so small in itself that of course it's going to be harder to get usable dies out of the big production.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but like Samsung especially, because TSMC has got the 7 nanometer down. Samsung doesn't seem to have anything down. Samsung lost Qualcomm's business not too long ago. They're no longer.
Really?
Yeah. To TSMC. So, I mean, TSMC is shaping up to be the big dog. I mean, they're already the big dog, but they're shaping up to be the only dog. The only dog really in the like semiconductor manufacturing business. Because because Global Foundries, which if you didn't know, used to be AMD. That's AMD's old fabs that they sold off because it wasn't feasible to have fabs for them at that time. But that's what's like fabrication in general has been a mess. Because let's not forget Intel, which pride itself on having its own fabs, have been trying to get TSMC to manufacture their stuff for them lately because Intel is in trouble. Intel is in trouble. Like I don't understand how they managed to release the C490 series this year without PCI Express 4. The new 10 series is still on 3.0. It's not. I expect it to matter this time with Ampere. I expect it to matter because we've already seen games like Horizon Zero Dawn, which has recently arrived on PC. Like there's actually a substantial difference between the 5700 XT running in 3.0 versus 4.0. There's actually a substantial difference there. So I expect it. Yeah. So I expect it to actually matter going forward.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I think Intel is in big trouble. Big trouble.
They need to pull up themselves by the bootstraps, I guess.
Yeah. But basically, I want a 3080. That's basically where I'm at right now. Yeah, that's the rub. I want a 3080. Like even if Nvidia is fibbing a bit with the double, like 50 to 60%, which we did see, because Digital Foundry, pre the actual release of the stream, basically, they did a bunch of testing, right, with the 3080, and obviously this was, disclaimer, probably paid for by Nvidia as a sponsored thing. They didn't release actual numbers, but they released percentages like between them, right? It was a cherry-picked list of games by Nvidia specifically, but in those games, we saw between like an 80 to 90% increase. So I'm expecting, given that is an absolute best case scenario. Okay, so I'm expecting, I'm whittling that down to about 50 to 60 generally, which is still impressive at the same price. At the same price, that's good.
Sound great.
Yeah, but like as with any GPU upgrade, you're not just upgrading the GPU, are you? Especially not me. What I've done in the last little bit, was I've changed my motherboard. Because I used to rock a B450M mortar from MSI. I upgraded that to B550M mortar from MSI because it has PCI Express 4.0. So I went with one of those. I also used to have, I used to have an internal PCI Express sound card, which you sold me, which, it was working pretty much fine.
No, is it dead?
No, it's alive. It's alive. But like I was having like some substantial driver issues with it, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty much driving me insane. But also like it was actually kind of hurting my GPU thermals, because like even spaced out by one slot, it was still blocking the airflow, kind of. As such as it was, I'll get to that later. It was kind of impeding the fans, the back fan of my GPU, so it was kind of high there. So I got rid of that. I still have it. I just took it on my PC. I now have an external sound device, which sounds pretty damn good. I'm very happy with it. But another thing I did, because I have a Corsair Crystal 280X case, and by default it has like a sheet of tempered glass, like a centimeter or two away from the intake fans. Airflow's not great. Gets pretty toasty in there. So recently I was like, if I'm gonna put a 3080 in there, I can't have that. So I removed that piece of glass. It's gone. So now it's basically just dust filter.
Oh yeah.
But airflow is substantially better. I've noticed like a 15 to 20 degree drop in my GPU thermal, so that's
pretty neat.
And like it looks no worse really. So like I'm very happy with doing that. So that's basically what I've done to prepare.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been using the laptop now for a long time. I started using it before I moved, just to get used to it and like set it up completely, so I was ready to go with it when I started studying, and it's been doing pretty well. I haven't been playing really a lot of demanding games. However, it's still, it runs Modern Warfare well enough at 144 FPS roughly. So yeah, good enough.
Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, it's an RTX 2060 in there.
Yeah, 2060 and i5.
Obviously,
300 HQ.
Yeah. So like obviously a laptop 2060 is not a desktop 2060 in terms of performance, but like it's okay. It does the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like one of the main draws of the 3000 series specifically is better ray tracing as well, because like we've got now this generation of cards that can do ray tracing. Like they have the capability of doing it, but like they don't do it very well. So we're looking at a substantial increase in ray traced game performance with a 3000 series, and I think that will definitely be good, because we're looking at games supporting it, like a wider game support, especially games like Cyberpunk, which is set to be the major release of this year.
I don't know yet, dude. I think Among Us 2 might be the big one.
Yeah.
Ray traced Fall Guys. Let's go. But I think the interesting thing about the 3000 series is if they start doing a low end line, like, and actually do like a 3050 or whatever, so there's now ray tracing for the budget crowd as well. I think that's like the next step in budget GPUs really. So I think I mean, budget GPUs are always the most interesting segment in my eyes.
I agree.
It's where they start pushing the limit for what the average consumer can have. Which I think is the most fun part, really, about a new generation. Even though, like, 8K 60 FPS gaming is... that's impressive.
I definitely agree. But with that done, let's head into news stories, I suppose.
Right. And when you start setting up the news story stuff, I'm gonna go get myself some coffee.
Fair enough. Alright. Okay, so our first story of the day is AMD is rumored to have a 16GB VRAM RDNA 2.0 card in the works. And the rumor is it's going to have an MSRP of $549 US. So presumably this would compete with the 3070. Because that's one of the things that has been met with some skepticism in regards to the 3000 series. It's the amount of VRAM, because the 3080 only has 10GB of GDDR6X.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You would think you would have more.
Honestly. Yeah. People have been saying that. It has some because it has GDDR6X. The bandwidth is absolutely massive. So that may make up for it. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But then the 3070 only has 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 non-X.
Okay.
So, and it's going to be, obviously it's going to be priced at $499 MSRP.
Okay, so what's the memory type for the AMD card?
Supposedly it's going to be GDDR6. I doubt they would make it GDDR6X. GDDR6X is just too expensive.
Have they still been using HBM or HBM2 anymore?
No. They stopped that with Vega because it was just far too expensive. Far too expensive. Yeah. So
and I
like
guess it didn't offer any substantial value for the expensiveness.
no, not for gamers. Not for gaming. For compute, absolutely. That's why Vega was like a computing architecture, which AMD was like, we have all these cards. Should we just sell them to gamers? And they were like, yeah. It was like then they were too, but they were like too expensive because of the HBM, so no one bought them because they were too expensive.
Yeah, and there I'm sitting. My computers at home still have the RX 56.
Yeah.
And you know how much trouble I've had with those drivers. So,
Yep. Vega was rough. Navi, much better. But
yeah, we got Navi.
Yeah. I have a Navi in this very computer actually, the one I'm recording this on. It's a 5700 XT.
You can tell I'm like completely behind the curve on most tech stuff nowadays.
Yeah, Navi is much better. We're expecting Big Navi or RDNA 2.0 to be much better. But on that note, supposedly they're going to be releasing the 16 gigabyte RDNA 2.0 card at 549 MSRP, which probably means Swedish pricing around 6,500 Swedish crowns. That's probably where the price is going to land. So if they can match the 3070 with double the VRAM, that might be the card to buy instead. You know, if you're looking to play at higher resolutions.
Does that much for resolution wise?
Yeah.
Okay, that does sound interesting, actually.
So it's like, I think that might be the card to buy instead of the 3070 if that's the case. Like if you don't care about RTX, I mean, let's be clear, RDNA 2.0 will have ray tracing, but not RTX because RTX is Nvidia's like proprietary technology thing. So some form of ray tracing is coming to AMD as well. It's just not the same. But like I
think it will be like compatible with the current RTX in say games like Battlefield 5 or the Quake 2 thing. Or
I somehow I doubt it. There might be AMD. I'm assuming AMD will have their own software suite for that sort of thing that developers then can port in maybe in updates.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that would be the hopeful thing. Yeah. Because like RTX does like it uses the hardware on the RTX capable cards in a very specific way. So like there's specific hardware developed for that sort of thing. So which is not open source. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there's that. I think not too much to say about that. It's just it's an interesting card if it comes out. I will be very interested to see how it does. I still think that, as I said, AMD can compete. I think AMD will compete. I don't think they will beat the 3000 series. I think they will compete with it very convincingly.
Okay.
And I think one of their main upticks will be that they will just be able to put more VRAM on the cards, which they have done historically. Like if we look back at the 900 series versus the Radeon 300 series, like if we had the 970 was competing with the 390, the 970 had officially 4 gigabytes of VRAM, in reality 3.5 gigs, whilst the 390 came out, it was like, oh, we have 8 gigs of VRAM, yeah?
Yeah,
8 gigs?
That was like insane.
But I mean, honestly though, it was fucking waste because no game required 8 gigs of VRAM back then. But it does mean that the 390 competes still with like the RX 570 today because like the VRAM just makes it so it can actually still play games very, very, very well. So like it's a good thing. But like as I'm saying, that's just something AMD has done historically. Just put more VRAM on it. Like, oh yeah, we've kind of matched the performance.
Here's a bunch
more VRAM. Yeah, basically. Enjoy. So I still think definitely that AMD will be able to compete at basically every price point.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously remains to be seen, but I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with. I'm quite convinced that they will be able to. And then we have the Microsoft unveils the Xbox Series S with an MSRP of $299.
Yep. That's
which translates to about 3,600 Swedish crowns, I think. Actually, I think they have the exact price here. Yeah, Xbox Sweden said 3,595 Swedish crowns for a whole ass console. That's less.
Yeah.
That's less than the price of an RTX 2060.
Yeah. So can I just? Is this going to be able to run the new generation of titles?
Supposedly, yes.
Okay. So people are going to be buying this for their kids.
I hope so.
So basically, this is going to be the standard model, and the other one, the fridge, is going to be the expensive model.
Yeah, I think the Xbox Series X, which I think they've actually announced the pricing of now. I think it's going to be $499 USD, so probably around 5.5K.
Yeah.
Swedish. I think that one, because that one supposedly is about performance level wise. Obviously, it's an AMD card, so it's an AMD architecture in there. But I think performance wise, it's supposed to match just about the 2080 Ti. So I think they're targeting 4K 60, essentially, with the Series X. So if this, and that's 500. So if they can do, if the Series S rather, that's an annoying naming scheme now that I think about it. If the Series S can do like 1080p high refresh rate, at 300, or maybe even 1440p high refresh rate at 300, then I think that might be the best value console this generation. Obviously, we've yet to see what the PS5 has in store in terms of pricing. But like, I think that might be the best value, at least in terms of hardware. I think this one might be the best value. Obviously, with consoles, it's less about the hardware and more about the exclusives. I think, in my opinion, PlayStation generally has the superior suite of exclusives.
Yeah, and the only chance that Xbox really has of taking it is if they have a good Halo game that generation.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. There's really no such thing as an Xbox exclusive anymore, because now all Xbox games are also going to be on PC. Because Microsoft, they're trying to integrate their platforms. Obviously, they're not going to release the Xbox games on PlayStation, but like, it's no longer, strictly speaking, an exclusive. If it's on, like, Halo Infinite is going to be on PC. Like, it's going to be releasing on PC. And like, and like, the trailer they've shown was running on a PC of Halo Infinite. So, I mean, Halo is no longer an Xbox exclusive.
I mean, how long until? I mean, it's been said with this generation, but how long until the Xbox is literally just a gaming PC with the new UI?
I mean, but like, with every generation, we've just gotten closer to that, because like, it's just like, okay, not only are is the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 almost identical to each other, it's a Ryzen CPU and an RDNA 2.0 GPU just on a combined die, Like, that's what it is. It's essentially a computer. Like, I bet with some tweaks you could just install Windows on one of these.
Oh yeah, on the original Xbox you could install Linux.
Yeah. No, but like, I bet you could, maybe not as it is now, but if you just made some minor tweaks to the hardware, I think you could just install Windows on it and work fine. Because essentially
that would be interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, it's so close to just literally. The one difference is that it's using just VRAM for the entire system memory suite, basically. That would be the main differentiating factor, but like,
that would be like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, and
that's not to say that they're not doing anything interesting. But they have very, very impressive sort of. Especially the PS5, we don't know too much. Actually, we do know a bit about the Xbox Series X. I have not kept up though. But the PS5 has a very, very impressive system for its storage. Its storage is like it's super impressive, and they're doing this obviously with the sort of I/O thing with the texture streaming from the SSD and stuff, like in a way that's not really been done before. That eliminates the bottleneck of having to go through the system memory. Something Nvidia is now copying with RTX I/O.
Oh, really?
So PC is getting that.
Awesome.
Yeah. probably won't be as effective simply because the PS5, you know, it's only one set of hardware that has to do that thing, so it's a lot more specialized and probably be a bit more effective. But like we are getting the same principle. So like the console generation coming out is good for PC. With every new console generation, PC advances by necessity. So
I mean, that's the thing. I think it's good that consoles are pushing boundaries where the x86 PC systems have sort of stagnated.
Yeah.
Because usually we only look at increasing performance, not really changing the architecture.
Yeah, but I don't think we'd see the 3000 series being as impressive as it is if the Xbox and the PS5 were not as impressive as they are for their price.
Also because if we look at x86 in itself, it's a very flawed architecture.
Yeah.
Like it was made in a very, very short amount of time in a stress situation, sort of. So there's a lot of stuff that could be optimized with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the things is like changing how we've built. With all the knowledge we have now, we could build a brand new architecture and it would, you know, make a lot of difference. And I think one of these things where, you know, it has to pass through the memory could be changed and it will be way faster. Yeah. So, you know.
Beyond that, it's like I think we can't forget that the Xbox and the PS5, they are AMD products. Like obviously they're Sony and Microsoft products, but the hardware inside is AMD mostly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people forget is that one of the things that is really keeping AMD in the game as well as they are is the fact that they always get exclusive deals on like almost every console generation.
Yeah.
Like I think did Nvidia have a chip in the 360? Or was that also AMD? Because
I think
can't remember.
No, I think Nvidia had the original Xbox. That was Nvidia.
Yeah, because I know they had the PS3.
Yeah.
But otherwise, AMD has had a lot of them. Like the Wii, for example.
Yeah.
The best-selling console ever was it was, you know, an ATI chip plus a Power PC.
Fun thing now, Nvidia is only in the Switch. The Switch has Nvidia. No other console is using Nvidia.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, obviously that's not their main focus. Obviously their main source of income is, you know, like data center use, like with their Quadros and their Teslas and whatnot. But regardless, I just think it's important to note that that obviously Nvidia is not only competing with whatever desktop PC cards that AMD is going to be releasing, they're also competing with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, which are RDNA 2.0 AMD Radeon products. So I think there's competition to gain there. I don't think AMD is dead in the water as a lot of people think. I think that's just a weirdly I think it's not only is it just
it's
pessimistic.
Based on the assumption that AMD that these two companies are only engaged in the graphics card for gamers market.
Yeah,
and that's the problem with a lot of tech, techies who love PC gaming is that they can only look on that tiny little segment when AMD and Nvidia in fact are doing so much more than just that.
Yeah.
And that's like a big problem.
Yeah, but like it's just like my thing is like it's not only is it unnecessarily pessimistic, it's also just not logical given the information we have.
Yeah.
Because like either you're suggesting that the PS5 and Xbox Series X is only as good as they are because Sony and Microsoft are better at creating graphics cards than AMD is, you know, or RDNA 2.0 is just good. Like maybe it's just good.
No way.
No way. But like it's not like RDNA 1.0 wasn't bad either. It's very good.
Yeah.
Like 5700 XT was a $400 USD card and it did 1440p very well. I think people are just, I don't know, and like especially given the fucking comeback they made with Ryzen, I think anyone dismissing AMD is dead in the water. It's just they have another thing coming.
Yo, Lisa's still gonna pull up with a sniper rifle.
I mean, basically. Alright, do you have anything else to add to the Xbox Series S?
Not really. I
No.
think it's fun to see a new generation. I'm interested in seeing how they deal with, what the controller's going to be like. If that will have, how they're going to deal with the PC. How the controller is going to be, how it's going to feel, what the buttons are going to be like. Because I'm still on the Xbox One controller.
Yeah.
So that would be fun to-
I still use the Xbox 360 controller.
Oh, yeah, but you see, that's like the Xbox had the best shaped
Yeah.
controller of all time. So.
I mean, I'm one of those freaks who actually prefer the PlayStation controllers. Not gonna lie, my favorite
Then you're
controller.
wrong.
Yeah, my favorite controller was the DualShock 4. I did not like the DualShock 2 or 3. Those I hated. But like,
You like the DualShock 1 though?
I don't think I ever used one. I never had a PS1.
Okay.
But
they're basically just the
Yeah,
second one, but worse.
yeah,
so.
yeah. But like, I really like the DualShock 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more of an Xbox guy.
Yeah, like most people are. I think it's just like it just depends on what feels comfortable in your hand,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For me, having the thumbsticks right next to each other is the more comfortable option. Obviously, people disagree, and I just like it's fine. I don't actually care, but I really like the look of the PS5 controller for that reason because it looks like an Xbox controller, but with the thumbsticks where like right next to each other like usual, and I am a fan of that.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
okay, moving on. The new Zen 3 lineup, that is to say the new Ryzen processors coming out later this year, rumored to feature a 10-core variant. And that's interesting to me because we've already got a 16 and a 12 core in the Ryzen lineup.
I was thinking, is that really like
So
crazy?
So one thing, no, it's not that it's crazy, it's just interesting. Think about it like this. I think there's two ways they can go with this. Either each segment just generally gets, each of the lower 3 segments gets just a core bump in general. So we go to 6-core Ryzen 3s, 8-core Ryzen 6s, 10-core Ryzen 7s, and then a 12-core and a 16-core Ryzen 9. Or they do, because right now they have 2 8-core SKUs for no reason. They have a 3700 and a 3800X.
Okay.
Both are 8 cores. Maybe they do so. We still have an 8-core 3700X, but they have but the 3800X of the next generation is a 10-core.
All right.
It sort of fills that slot though. I think it's a good point. Like if they just because then we have an increase of 2 cores per segment. Like you go from 2 cores and then you add 2 cores, then you add 2 cores. Right now you get to Ryzen 7 and then you go 4 cores and then another 4 cores.
Okay.
So I think this will be interesting. This might be like, it depends obviously on the pricing. Don't know if it's necessary. People might still want to go for a 12 core instead.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. I think it's. I mean, I don't think it's that weird or like interesting, to be honest. I think it's like it's 10 core, could be any segment. But if you're saying it's right that they're moving up to 6 cores being the lowest end, like true 6 core, not bulldozer 6 core, then that could be
that would be my preferred. That would be my preference if they were going to do something like that. I would prefer that instead of just injecting a 10 core somewhere because.
That would just be.
Yeah. Moving on to a smaller one, we've got Nvidia revealing DLSS 2.1 with a focus on VR and 8K. I think this will have limited utility, simply because like 8K and VR are both fairly niche sort of sections, and it seems to be like quite genuinely focused on these things. That said, DLSS is very impressive. Just DLSS 2.0, 1.0 sucked. 2.0 is very impressive just on its own.
Yeah.
As a super sampling sort of technology, I think it's highly impressive. So more DLSS, more better, basically, because
more better.
More better, yes, indeed. But that's basically all I have to say about that. But now on to the next one. Line items for a 3060 Ti and a 3070 Ti appear in documents of Swedish retailers.
And how could you have a 3060 Ti without the 3060 itself?
Exactly. But I think something like this is coming. I think if the 3060 and the 3060 Ti are priced at $349 and $399 US at MSRP, they might be the mid-range cards to buy this generation, provided the performance is there.
Yeah, that might be the big
Yeah,
thing.
and then the 3070 Ti, I feel like Nvidia might be holding in the back pocket in case AMD comes out with the 16 gig card we were talking about earlier, because then Nvidia can go, haha, we have a 3070 Ti with 16 gigs.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out and say this. I don't like TI cards for the mid segment, because it just means that usually there's such little difference between them, and you get this clusterfuck of different models. Like
I
last
agree.
generation.
I agree.
Well, we have the 2060, 2060 Super. Did we have a 2060 Ti?
No, but we had a 1660, a 1660 Super, and a 1660 Ti.
And then they get the 60 Ti Super Mega Edition 5.0.
Yeah, I don't think Nvidia is wanting to use the Super ever again. That was pretty much just a last minute sort of thing. It's like, fuck, Navi's perfectly serviceable. Fuck, more out.
Yeah. So,
yeah. But like, I think the 3060. I'm not sure we're gonna get Ti there. I think that might just be one of those things. But I think a 3070 Ti is possible if AMD releases that 16 gig card we talked about earlier. I think that's Nvidia holding it in the back pocket, going, "Oh, try me, AMD, huh? 16 gigs, ha! I have 16 gigs too."
Yeah.
And the same thing with the 3080, because there was rumors of a 20 gig variant of the 3080. So I think if AMD, releases a 16 gig 3080 competitor, then Nvidia goes, oh yeah, 16 gigs, pfft, I have 20 gigs, what are you going to do about that, Lisa Sue? It's like...
It's funny, the funny part is that's their uncle, right?
I don't think that's true. I think this is something people have said, and they've both said, like, no, as far as we know, we're not related. I'm like, okay.
Okay, that's vaguely racist.
Yeah. But like, Jensen Huang did used to work at AMD, unless I am mistaken. I think he started out at AMD, actually.
I mean, yeah, because NVIDIA didn't exist until, what,
1993, I think.
Yeah, so, I mean, he probably worked for AMD, because they've been around since 84.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I find it interesting. I don't think we're going to see a 3060 Ti. That doesn't seem likely. As far as I know, they haven't done a 60 Ti card since the 600 series. As far as I know, I think the 660 Ti was the last 60 Ti card.
I think what we're all waiting for is for John Carmack to buy out 3DFX trademark.
And go for a Voodoo RTX 3000
with 12 megabytes of VRAM. Yeah, bring back the Voodoo.
Bring back the Voodoo.
Bring back the fucking Voodoo.
GeForce, who cares? Voodoo. Voodoo's where it's at.
GeForce is doo-doo, while Voodoo is...
good.
Yeah, good.
No, but that's said. Yeah. But yeah, basically, I don't think we're gonna see a 60 Ti. I think we might see a 3070 Ti depending on what AMD brings out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm afraid of is the graphics card market getting as bloated again as it was this generation.
Yeah, but as far as I agree with you. That's a concern of mine as well. But as far I think Nvidia's been public about the fact that they don't want to do that.
Yeah, okay.
This generation, because it was confusing for fucking everyone. Everyone was confused. I think Nvidia itself was confused. It's
yeah, because it makes it harder for consumers. And then when you have situations where they're releasing the same card with the same name but cut down versions, I mean, then it gets even more.
What's the difference between a 1660 Ti and a 60 Super? About 5%.
Yeah. No, it's like if sometimes both AMD and Nvidia has had a history of releasing a card with one name, which is the same name as another card, but then having just being a different card. With being cut down CUDA cores, or VRAM or whatever it could be, without actually notifying the public. So
that was actually an example of this generation with the EVGA 2060 KO, because the normal 2060s are on the TU106 die.
Okay.
That's the 2060 die, traditionally speaking. As far as I know, they ran out of those dies basically at some point during this generation. So they started cutting down TU104 dies, which is the 2080 die.
That's interesting.
So they started cutting them down, and this basically forcing a 2080 to be a 2060.
Okay. Does that create a scenario where you can just flash the 2080 BIOS?
No, because there was actual physical.
Okay, there were actual physical.
Yeah, but it was the same die. They were just like.
Yeah.
But that resulted in gaming wise, it didn't really matter. It performed as a 2060, but like in production tasks, it performed somewhere between a 2060 and a 2080. So it was like substantially better for production than a normal 2060 for the same price. So it's like.
What can you say? It's
Yeah, but I'm assuming that just at some point, either they ran out of TU-106, or they were just like, we have too many TU-104s, guys. We have too many.
What are we gonna do with it?
Yeah, just make them 2060s.
Oh my god, that's weird.
no, but like, to be fair, it might also be that like there were TU-104s that were like kind of fucked up. They didn't come out. They were defective. Because that's something they do, and if that's the case, then that's a good thing, because that means they cut down on wasted silicon essentially. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I hope we don't get as much of a clusterfuck in the GPU market next generation as we did in this one.
Yeah, no, hopefully it calms down a bit, because it was a jungle navigating. Like me recommending computer builds to my friends who wanted to build them. I've never had problem with that before, but combine the fact that I've been out of the game for like a year or whatever, so I didn't have a full idea of what was out there. And then with the fact that the GPU market is just clusterfucked, it was.
Yeah. Basically, it's like I've been having trouble. I was just like, okay, you know what? Like this last half year, I've been mostly just like, you know what? Just wait. And so it's just like we're in a transition period. I think this is gonna be one of those monumental years.
Wait for Vega.
Oh god. Oh god.
Wait for Vega.
Wait for Vega. It's like I want to buy an RTX 3080. Wait for Vega. Wait for Vega again. Vega's coming back. I swear.
HBM2, bro.
HBM2.
I'm just waiting for the Voodoo 5.
Yeah. I'm waiting for 3DFX to rise from the ashes of Nvidia's burned out husk. Once again saying the revenge of the Voodoo is here.
Man, I just want to play Quake, bro.
With RTX.
I just want to use the Glide API, bro.
Oh,
2D graphics cards out. 3D accelerated.
The Glide API, Jesus Christ, that was an API.
It's fucking cool. Like the idea of just everyone has a 2D graphics card. Fuck it, let's just slam another card that only does 3D in there. It's hilarious.
Why not? It's just like
there's literally a VGA cable coming out from your OG graphics card, right?
Yeah.
And then passing in through your 3DFX Voodoo, and then passing out again. It's so stupid.
But it's just one of those things where you look back. It's like clearly these were people who had like, okay, either this is the future or this is the future. There are two options, and then they just chose the completely wrong one. It's like no, this is the future.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't the future.
Yeah, because
physics. Physics was the future.
Oh yeah, but
physics by Egea.
The Voodoo was built on something called Napalm, I'm pretty sure. And Napalm, the idea was you could have one core or one architecture, which would last you till the end of time, basically. You would never have to make a new architecture again, because you would just slam more of that.
More! Just add more!
Because dice were shrinking, and they were thinking, oh, we can just slap another one on there. Like, the original Voodoo 5 had 2 Napalm cores. We would probably have something like 60,000 cores today.
Just fucking brilliant. This is...
Thank you, 3DFX, for being magnificently insane.
It's fucking... Like, just incompetent to the point of being almost competent. Like, that's...
Yeah. It's hilarious, yeah. The only thing they got to bring back is the old school graphics card boxes, though.
With the artwork, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It was
we
cool.
Should do an episode. Okay, next episode we should do like old school graphics card boxes.
Oh, I already know my favorite.
Yeah.
It's the GTX 550 Ti from Asus. That was fucking dope. I love that one.
We gotta do a bunch of different like weird graphics card stuff next episode.
Yeah.
That's the next episode, gentlemen.
Yep.
Women and gentlemen, and anyone else.
There is one gentleman watching this. One.
Mr. Man, next episode.
Stay tuned.
We have graphics card.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, let's head into the sort of smaller stories we've got. First of all, The Witcher 3 is getting a graphical upgrade and a port to next gen, which it will include ray tracing, and it will be a free upgrade for people who already owned Witcher 3.
Okay. So now I can turn both, I can turn on both ray tracing and Hairworks.
Oh my god,
20
Hairworks. With the next generation, ray tracing might actually be perfectly serviceable. So, nothing on this earth will ever fix Hairworks, though. Nothing will ever fix Hairworks. It's like, okay, it was like, okay, so it tags your performance and it looks terrible.
So
perfectly worth it, man. But look, his hair is blowing all the time. It's blowing all the time.
It truly was the Dark Souls of hair physics.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not gonna complain. Like, especially because it's a free. Like, even for people who owned on console, they're gonna get a free copy of the next gen version.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty nice.
So that's just like, okay, you know what? If you want to do the Skyrim, what Bethesda's doing to Skyrim, where it's like releasing it. It's like, hey, Todd, we need to release something this year. Do we? Yeah. Okay, release Skyrim again. Do it. Release Skyrim.
I used to be in the chess club.
No, but like I bet Todd Howard has a button in his office that just says release Skyrim on it. So it's just like press it every time they need to launch a new game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, Starfield's being delayed. Bang! It's like,
here's Skyrim on your gaming toothbrush. There you go.
Skyrim on your pregnancy test coming 2025.
Oh, did you see Doom on the pregnancy?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when I said like, in 2025 we're gonna have Skyrim running on a pregnancy. Actually, actual question: how long until we see the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim iOS/Android edition? How long? Place your bets.
4 years.
4 years? You think so?
Yes, because phones are already faster than the PS3 and Xbox 360 were. It's just like a year until the highest end phones catch up with the current gen of consoles.
Yeah.
So.
I am absolutely sure it's happening. It's happening. It's for sure happening. They're gonna release.
What is going to be hard though is that it doesn't really fit mobile gaming formula.
They'll find a way.
It's going to be voice command enabled. So you gotta stand like a maniac and scream into your phone.
It's happening. I'm absolutely sure it's happening. There's no way Todd Howard would let that market go without a Skyrim.
They release Skyrim Go like Pokemon Go, except catching Pokemon, you find all those irritating little gemstones that you had to find 24 of in Skyrim.
Yes.
You remember that quest that didn't have any quest markers and no instructions where to go? It was like basically, complete the game. Hope you don't miss any. Fuck you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, speaking of Pokemon Go style, The Witcher is actually doing a Pokemon Go style game. It's called The Witcher Monster Slayer. I mean, hey man, Pokemon Go was fucking massively successful. If they can get even, like, a tenth of that, hey man, do it. Like, it will probably be worth the investment, if nothing else, like, financially.
What about Gwent, bro?
I mean, Gwent already has a standalone game.
I want to run Gwent on my Voodoo 9.
I fucking hate Gwent, by the way. I fucking hate Gwent.
You hate all card games?
I do hate all card games, but I especially hate Gwent because they put a card game in my RPG!
Instead of filling it with sexy, rambunctious women...
Okay.
The SJWs, man. They took away the fucking...
They replaced the women with the card games!
I can't even pretend to be a gamer anymore.
No, man, it's getting insane. It's becoming just fucking hilarious. Have you seen, like, a few months ago when we released The Last of Us Part 2?
Yeah.
There was, like, one of the protagonists, it's like...
Oh yeah, she was too buff, right?
Yeah, she was too buff and all the gamers just lost their minds. Like, I am not sexually attracted to this lady. How can she be in my video game?
You know what? When the boobs aren't big and the women aren't hot, it's political.
No, but like...
there you go.
Yeah, but like, women in general are just too political, you know? Just don't put them in there. Don't put them in there.
You know, walking on the street, see a woman, turn away.
Yep. No, but it's like... It's like, I think, like, in The Last of Us Part 2, right, they release, like, they will add, like, justification notes, like, she works out a lot. That's her thing. She works out. She's a combat something, and she works out. And they showed, like, a small art asset of her her training her workout schedule. And some fucker on Twitter went in there was like, there's no way she could get that buff with this schedule. There's just no way. Because, like, what's she eating? It's post-apocalyptic. She can't get that buff. So, it's a literal video game. It's a literal video game. It's just polygons. It's just polygons. The polygons can't hurt you. She can't hurt you. She's just polygons. It's fine. It's fine, Brad. It's fine. You're fine.
Mr. Psychologist, you say that, yet behind you, I am seeing the buff women right now. Oh my god.
Oh no!
Oh no, you have AirPods on. No!
Yeah. I don't know. Like.
Yeah, it's. I hate.
Yeah, I hate gamers. Love the game, hate the gamers. And our final news story, I suppose, if we can even call it news. The Crysis Remastered, the minimum specs have been released, and they are underwhelming, to say the least. Yeah, the minimum specs is an Intel Core i5-3450, or AMD Ryzen 3, nothing specific. Graphics cards, it's 1050 Ti or RX 470. 8 gigs of RAM and 20 gigs of storage.
Okay, let's check Crysis system requirements from back in the day to just compare.
Yeah.
So you had to have at least, so if you were running it on Vista, we're going to say you're running it on Vista, you had to have at least a 3.2 gigahertz Pentium 4, which 2 years before that was basically one of the most expensive Pentiums you could buy. You had to have an entire gig of RAM, and if you were running Vista, you have to have 1.5 gigs. In 2005, when Rage released, I think it was half a gig of RAM minimum, and that was insane at the time.
Yeah.
And that was just 2 years before. So, no, it wasn't Rage. What was it called? It's not Rage. What's the game called? Your 2005, you can have bullet time. It's Fear. It's called
Fear. Right. Yeah. Yes. Fear.
So,
yes.
Like, Crysis at the time was insane. You had to have a GeForce 6800 GT or greater, or a Radeon 9800 Pro, or for Vista an X800 Pro. So basically, in 2004, those were literally the best cards on the market, except for the 6800 GT. The 6800 GTX were slightly faster, but yeah, that was like high. That was be saying like minimum specs today would be a 2080 or a 1080.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
To be fair, the recommended specs are quite a bit more steep. It's an i5 7600K or an AMD Ryzen 5, a 1660 Ti or a Vega 56, 12 gigs of RAM, and again 20 gigs of storage. So like, but still, like that's not unreasonable. That's like a reasonable gaming PC from last generation, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you look at Crysis, recommended was a Core 2 Duo or an Athlon X2, which were both like processors that were brand spanking new and super expensive. You had to have at least 2 gigabytes of RAM, which was insane at the time, and a GeForce 8800 GTS, which was like, I don't know, a 26, like what a 2060 or a 2070 is now. So at the time,
it's just like, I'm not sure what people were expecting, because like it's not, Crysis wasn't, it's not that Crysis was demanding per se. It was, but like it was also just poorly optimized. Like that was the big thing. That was the big thing. It wasn't that it was a revolutionary fucking game at the time, because like it looks kind of similar to the original Far Cry in my opinion.
I highly disagree. It looked insanely good for the time, but the problem is, on top of just looking really good, it was also badly optimized.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's say that. So like,
it looked like a next generation. It truly did.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it also was terribly optimized.
Yeah.
So you put those together, and it becomes this myth of, it's insanely hard to run.
Yeah. And it's just like, go back now with modern hardware, it still runs like shit. So that's why. So like, it was just that it was mostly poorly optimized. So like, I'm just happy the specs are this reasonable. That means
hopefully they optimize the game more
Yeah.
for this. But I'm definitely gonna play it. I enjoyed I enjoyed the
yeah.
original one. I played it in 2014, I think, or 15
Mhm.
was my first time playing it. It was one of the games I actually tested on my first real gaming PC, and I remember actually thinking it was pretty good. And then I remember there's this mod called the Extreme Immersive mod, which is still like, in my opinion, it's one of the most like. It looks like you put a actual camera on a soldier's head and just let him run around and shoot stuff.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, and mainly, I mean, it's not because the game looked insanely good. It's just that there's a lot of motion blur, there's a lot of lens flare stuff, so it sort of masks all the stuff that didn't look really brand new, but it also did like enhance the graphics to look really good as well. I can link you the video, I think.
Do so. Yeah, do that. I'm just like, if you want to be able to play, you'll be able to play it soon because it launches on September 18th on the Epic Game Store.
Oh, that's
Now there's something else the gamers can rage about.
Yeah.
Because the Chinese are stealing their megabytes.
Yeah, it is. I hate gaming.
Yeah, I hate gaming too.
Here's the video. So it does look really good, but then they add a bunch of effects to mask all the stuff that just doesn't look that good, which ends up making it look really, really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's maybe you can link it in the description so people can watch it.
I will. I will definitely do that.
It's definitely an experience, and remember, this is a game from 2010.
Yeah. So that's basically all the news stories. So why don't we round off like we usually do? What games have you been playing lately?
So a lot of Fall Guys and Among Us. I've been playing a lot of party games lately.
It's always fun.
Also, yeah, it's fun. You know, I've been playing a lot of New Vegas. Started playing that again. I've been doing 2 different builds. It's pretty fun. I've been taking a more build-focused approach of like trying to plan out how I'm gonna play the game in advance more than I've done before, and it's pretty okay. Trying different builds and seeing what sticks. Basically, and then I've been playing some Subnautica and some Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's
cool.
Probably it. Yeah. How about you?
Last month I played, I think cumulatively about 150 hours of Dragon Age across the entire series.
Oh my god.
I played them. I played them all the way through several times, all 3 games.
Nice.
And then this month I've just been playing Crusader Kings 3 because it launched on September 1st.
Oh, okay.
And that's been a major source of hype for me. So yeah, I've basically been playing that, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So
yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, I guess it's for a bit of this and a bite of that. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Keep an eye out for future ones, and peace out.
Peace.